Okay, I'm gonna do just kind of a really basic intro in how you get into things, and hopefully that will set you off to an okay start. When you open Vectorworks for the first time, you'll have tons of menus opened up or palettes. And under Windows palettes, you can see all the different palettes. And most like navigation will be open. I think classes, maybe layers. Um, resource palettes is open, maybe working planes. Um, all of that stuff is going to be open. And these 1, 2, 3, 4 different palettes that I have open now will be also open. But before we get to that, just confirm that you're in the Spotlight workspace. Because if you go ahead and close all those palettes and then switch back to Spotlight, it'll just reopen them up. Right? So make sure you're in Spotlight. So yeah, so there we are. So I'm still in Spotlight. The basic tool set, the tool sets, attributes, and object information are what I pretty much always keep open. If I'm not doing lighting, I'll close tool sets because that's really what I need that for with the lighting, and everything else I can get to in the basic palette. Attributes is going to change color, line weight, that sort of thing. Object information is going to give you some details about the things that you draw. If you accidentally close something that you need, it's going back to window palettes and opening that up. Under tools, if you go down to options, something you just kind of may want to look at first. The Vectorworks preferences, I usually unclick offset duplications. I'm really weird about mouse wheel zoom, so I turn that off. Very few people are upset about that. I use zoom line thickness. I don't think that it slows it down significantly. You can use a black background. Here is like how many number of undos, when it'll save, that sort of thing. The only other thing I really change in here is I turn off some of these interactive things because it's too flashy for me. It's something that's relatively new, probably like 10 years, but I tend to turn those off. And then in document settings, document preferences, you can go in and look at display. There's a couple things that you may want to change in here. But dimensions is probably the most important thing that you may look at if you're drawing dimensions. There are different styles of dimensions that you can use. Yeah. The basic tool set is what we'll go through 1 or 2 things on here. The selector tool is your main cursor. The letter X is the shortcut key for that. It will work when you have any tool but the text. If you have text, you'll just keep typing X's, but it's a really good one to learn right away, because so you stop drawing rectangles all over the place. The flyover tool, if you click this, you'll notice that the screen changes and you get this grid. It moved us to the 3-dimensional world. And if I move, there are some things in 3 dimensions on here. Our lights are all hung in the air, but Control or Command 5 will take you back to 2D, right? You want to say top plan here. And if I click this, you'll see it switches to top. So you want it to be top plan. That is the 2D world. And that's where you're going to do 99% of your drawing. Any of these tools that you use is going to have a submenu up here. And we're going to go to the rectangle. I'm actually going to zoom into a space here real quick. And now we're going to go to the rectangle. And you can see that there's 4 different options here. I can control from the corner to corner. center to corner, mid to corner, or 3 points rotated, right? So I've got corner to corner, which is pretty typical, and I can drag it out and I'm going corner to corner. If I hit tab, you'll see that the delta X is highlighted. And so I want to do maybe 10 feet over on the X axis and 10 feet down on the Y axis, or up rather. You can do negatives. And now I've got this, this square, right? If I want to change that in some way, say I want this bottom left corner to stay put, over at my object information, that little check here on this grid, that is the handle. It will hold it there. So if I change the width to 12 feet, it'll grow out from there, right? If I click on center and I want to change some things, maybe I want to change that to 12 feet, it's going to grow out from center. You can also double click on most of these tools. There we go. And so say I want to do a 4x8, right? And say I want the handle to be on the top left. So position it next click, okay. And now I can go there and I can line that up. And I put some sort of texture on that when I was doing that. I'm not sure how or why, but there it is. There. Pretty straightforward. You can change this obviously afterwards. You can also kind of grab and just stretch it out somewhat arbitrarily. But all of the tools kind of work that way, right? Your circle, start to draw, tab, 10-foot radius, boom. And again, there are several different options on how you handle those things. You're not going to hurt anything. The weirdest thing that may happen to you is you may go into the three-dimensional world and your drawing starts to look weird because you're drawing things in the three-dimensional world. But don't worry about it. You're not going to mess up any of the drawings. I think that the last thing that maybe we talk about here is layers. So think of them as transparent pieces of paper and everything is just sort of lined up on top of each other. And so you can see there's design layer 1, which I don't know what's in there. The theater is in a layer, lighting is in a layer, set is in a layer, which there's no set here. And then there's a generic layer. So I can turn those on and off as I wish. So if I click on there and say, okay, I don't want to, my areas are actually turned off. And so I go here, and unless I'm in that layer, if I go to theater, now those areas are turned off, right? Under view, class options, I typically do show, snap, modify others. Layer options, I typically do show, snap others. So as I'm working in different layers, I know that I can adjust something in, if I'm doing lighting, right? I can adjust something in lighting, but I won't accidentally grab a piece of the theater and move it around. So I don't know, just play, have fun. It'll all be great. Thanks. Bye.